Hey YouTube, this is Mr. Tamkus, nerd, indie video game developer, homebrew developer, retro video game enthusiast, and electronics engineer. So I recently picked up a non-functioning Sega Saturn console from Craigslist for a very affordable $20, which I would like to show off and briefly explain how I repaired it. This was an extremely good bargain, considering Sega Saturn consoles are sold anywhere from $25 to $70 or so depending on the condition. And pretty much anything Sega Saturn related is highly collectible these days. The issue was that the CD motor, this thing here, would not spin, and the console would not read disc, let it be an audio CD or a game CD. The following video is a quick explanation on how I repaired it. Disclaimer, I am not responsible for any damage to yourself or your Saturn while repairing the Saturn. If you know what you're doing with electronics repair, I advise you to watch the full YouTube video linked in the description for full details on how to fix the CD read issues in both Model 1 and Model 2 Sega Saturns. That video linked in the description is the YouTube video I watched on how to figure out how to fix this particular unit. So the seller mentioned that the console wouldn't read disc, and after checking out the console at his residency and researching on fixes for the issue from that video, I decided to pick it up to repair it myself. For a cheap $22, why not? I also picked up a new Sega Saturn AV cable, shown here, a Saturn gamepad, a third-party generic, and also various Netlink accessories from eBay. So those items were our Sega Saturn Netlink modem, a Sega Saturn web browser disc, and a male-to-female controller adapter, seen here. Unfortunately, the Sega Saturn PS/2 keyboard adapter is supposed to come with the eBay package got lost in the mail during shipping. So the main issue with the Sega Saturn is that when a CD was inserted, be it an audio CD or a Sega Saturn application CD, the motor would not start up, and the CD would not be read at all. Everything else about this Saturn was actually working. Fixes or mods are pretty easy for the disc read issues. In particular, I fixed the following issues. 1. Had to adjust the motor spindle height within tolerance. 2. Adjust the power of the CD laser. Adjust the potentiometer to a resistance of 0.720 kiloohms. And 3. Adjust another potentiometer so that game CDs could be read. So first thing to do was unplug the dang Saturn. Seriously, never tinker around with electronics with the unit plugged in the wall. Never even touch a live circuit. You could electrocute yourself. Then open up the Saturn and apply tape to the CD door switch in order to close the circuit. So here is, after unplugging it, because the power board's right here, you need to tape this switch here on the model. This is the switch, the sensor switch, which allows the unit, the Saturn to know that there's a CD in there. So if you have the chassis open, the CD drive wouldn't be able to read, wouldn't even be able to begin reading this because the switch hasn't been closed. So you gotta tape that down in order to close the switch. We unplugged the unit for safety since the power board is extremely close to that switch there, and you could easily electrocute yourself. So taping that switch would fool the Saturn into thinking the CD door was closed and then allow it to read disc while the chassis was open. Then to remove this plastic guard here while the chassis was open by pressing the tabs. So if you go here, see there's a tab there. Also, another tab right here, and one right there. So you gotta squeeze those two and squeeze this and get this black plastic guard off. Then afterwards, you'd have to pull off the motor spindle here. After that, put that black plastic guard back on, and then place this spindle back on at the proper height. So between the plastic guard and the motor, so like right here, if you can look very closely, you got to get that gap there, like 1 to 2 millimeters high. If the spindle goes too low, CDs would scrape against the guard. But if you go too high, the laser would have difficulties in reading the CD. And if in either of those states, the motor would not run at all, and it wouldn't even begin to read discs. So once at the proper height, if the motor runs, you're good. If not, you gotta adjust the spindle and repeatedly test until it works. After I did that, the motor would run. But if I tried to get the Saturn to read audio CDs, it still wouldn't read them at all. So after, once again, unplugging our unit, next I tensioned this potentiometer here. So if you can see right, that little orange thing there, that's a variable resistor known as a pot. So you need to get a screwdriver and adjust that until get a voltmeter to measure the resistance across it to get 0.720 kilo ohms, which is like the magic value to get all this to work. Once you adjust that, the laser will have the proper amount of power to read CDs. But you're going to be really careful because that potentiometer is really sensitive, so it's going to take probably at least half an hour to get to at or extremely close to 0.720 kilo ohms. Afterwards, the Saturn is able to read audio CDs, but still want to read Saturn game CDs. So in order to get Saturn CDs to work, I finally had to adjust this potentiometer here, another variable resistor, and adjust that clockwise until the Saturn was able to read game CDs. After I did all that, it was able to work. So after doing adjusting the motor spindle height, also adjusting the pot on the laser for its power, and also adjusting the game CD potentiometer, see if I can get everything works. We're going to test an audio CD, place in our thing here. So as you see, we adjusted the height enough so it spins without scraping. So place our CD in and power it on. As you see, it's reading an audio CD pretty well. And if we turn it off and put in a karaoke CD, we'll see that it also works. Once you adjust the power switch a little bit. And as you see, it's also reading that too. With the karaoke stuff too. And lastly, a Saturn game CD. And as you see, the Saturn game CD is actually booting up, which is the harder just to get it working because it has a CD ring protection. You got just that final potentiometer to get it to work. As you see, it's booting up and actually reading code from it like it should. And just for fun, we're just going to end this video with showing that the modem's actually getting detected. I haven't been able to test it because I don't have the means to yet, but at least the game browser can detect it. So it runs, it's going to boot it up, or skip the booting sequence. It goes to the boot screen. There it is, booting up Planet Web, boots up, and because we don't have the modem in, it's going to complain that it can't find it. If the modem is not installed or not functioning, please check the modem cartridge. So it does detect the modem. If we reboot it with it in, Planet Web, and as you see, this time it's not going to complain about the non-existence of the modem because we have one in. Actually, we just go to any favorite. Yeah, let's go to our bookmarks and go to any random website. I don't know, Crayola. Whatever. As you can hear, if you hear this thing, you hear the Sega Saturn click. Means that's actually working. I just don't have the connection available to do that right at the moment. Yep, it's trying to send. Yep, hear that click? That's it trying to dial it. Click that one time. Hear really closely. Yep, the click noise is it trying to dial. So everything works. The Saturn's been repaired. It can read audio CDs, karaoke CDs, and most importantly, game CDs. Not only that, but our Netlink has been shown to work too. If you try running the browser without a Netlink cartridge, it complains that it can't find a modem. If you run it with one in, it'll be able to run it and it'll make clicking noises if you try it down, but we don't have the connection, so it's not doing anything important right now. So overall, this $22 broken sound was a really good find and quite easy to fix. Hope you like this video and plan on making more retro video game videos like this in the future. Specifically, I'm working on review videos for various old video games and consoles called Nerdology, the study of nerdy stuff. Thanks and stay tuned for the new channel.